What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. But before I talk about all 32 teams, hit that subscribe button down below to be entered into our giveaway at 500 subscribers. At 32 are the Carolina Panthers, and this one was more on Bryce Young. He threw two pick sixes. The rushing game actually showed up, though, in this one. And now they go into Chicago on Thursday Night Football looking to get a win. 31 are the Cardinals, and they got blanked against the Browns defense, but they are expecting some reinforcements. They get Kyler Murray and more than likely James Conner back this week against the Falcons. And could that get them over the hump of the 6-game losing streak? And they have Atlanta, Houston, and the Rams, 3 games that they could possibly steal. The Giants come in at 30, and the bad news for them is they lost their 2 quarterbacks. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor's been out, but now Daniel Jones returns, and now he tears his ACL. So it's going to be Tommy DeVito for the rest of the year unless they sign someone off the practice squad or go get someone. But the Giants fans, not looking good right now. 29 are the Chicago Bears, and they played decent, but Tyson Bagent just didn't do enough in this one. The 3 interceptions were costly. But if this team starts to lose a little bit more games, they lose on Thursday, and that's a big game for the Bears because they have the Panthers pick as well. So honestly, they kind of want to lose this one. They could possibly get picks 1 and 2, and that could be Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison if they choose to go that way. 28 are the Patriots, and Mac Jones just threw the costly interception late, or else this team was at least probably going to kick a field goal and send this one to OT. But is Jones the answer at the end of the year? That's the big question. 27 are the Rams, and they're falling 5 spots here after not showing up against the Packers. Obviously, Stafford did not play in this one. It was Brett Rypien, but he just didn't do anything. And then Puka and Cooper, you can see there, 5 receptions, 80 yards total, and that's not enough. But they go into a bye, and hopefully they can come out a little healthier. Kyren Williams is expected back week 12. Stafford, hopefully he can come back in week 11. If that's the case, then they might be able to salvage the season. My Packers move up 1 after beating those Rams, and the offense kind of showed up, but not really. They did score their first touchdown in the first half since week 2. So progress, it's a stepping stone. But Love looked good, no mistakes, and that's how they're going to win if he makes no mistakes. And now they get the Steelers this week in a tougher matchup. 25 are the Broncos. They had a bye last week. Come out of the bye, face the Bills, and Javonte Williams had 30 touches in the last game before the bye, so they might be leaning on him now to pretty much rejuvenate this team in the second half of the season. And it's going to come out to Russell Wilson. He's been playing decent all year, but can he take it to that next level? 24 are the Commanders, and they stay put after a win. Now they go to Seattle in a big game for both of those teams. Seattle needs to respond, and the Commanders need to get to 500 if they want to hang around this year. But it's going to come down to Sam Howell, how he does against that Seahawks defense after Lamar and the ground game tore him apart. Expect a big day for Brian Robinson. The Falcons come in at 23 after losing to the Vikings, and losing to a quarterback that's only been with the franchise for 5 days is a bad look. Heineke, he's going to be the placeholder for this year, but I expect the Falcons to probably go out, make a move, and there'd be a team to watch for if the Bears do intend to move Justin Fields in the offseason. The Falcons could be that team. The Raiders move up 4 spots after beating the Giants, and this team looked like a whole different team after, the firings last week, and Antonio Pierce, now the head coach, just dominated the Giants in this one. And now it really gets tough, though. They have the Jets, Dolphins, and Chiefs before their bye. And if they can win 2 of 3, this Raiders team could possibly be in a place 6-6 heading into the bye with a chance at a playoff. The Titans fall to 21, and the offense just didn't show up in the second half. But Will Levis has looked positive, and he got named the starter officially today. And that's, I think, a good thing for this franchise. They know what they're going to get. But now they travel to Tampa, and that's a must-win game for both of those teams. And Tampa is at 20 after they lost to the Texans, and they're on a 4-game losing streak. And it's a must-win game, like I said, for the Titans. Both of these teams need that win. But the big storyline from the game against the Texans, the offense finally shows up and scores over 30 points, but then the defense doesn't show up and they give up 39. But it is promising. If the Bucs offense can get half of this, score 24, I think they can win most of their games. The Jets fall to 19 after Zach Wilson just disappeared. He didn't do awful, but there were some throws where were very questionable, didn't make a mistake, but it just didn't add up to points, and that was the problem. But now they get the Raiders in a big game for both those teams, and then it's Buffalo and Miami in weeks 11 and 12, and that could decide this season. And Rodgers, could be back soon. So it's just going to be interesting to see when he will be back and if this team is in the playoff hunt. Colts move up 5 after beating the Panthers, and this was the Kenny Moore show. 2 pick sixes snapped the Colts 3-game losing streak with that win. And now they have one of the easier schedules left in the second half of the season. If you go look, they have a lot of sub 500 teams, and this Colts team could possibly sneak into a wild card if they win those games. The Texans stay at 17 here after the comeback win, led by CJ Stroud with the 5 touchdown passes against the Bucks. And they're starting to put it all together. All the young guys, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz now, the addition that they made in the offseason, and CJ Stroud, his best game of the year. Now they get Cincinnati in Cincinnati. Let's see if they can pull off an upset. The Vikings come in at 16, and I think a lot of people thought this team was going to fall off, and myself included, even after the win against Green Bay last week. I had them moving down 1 spot, but here I'm having them jump up 5, and that's because of Josh Dobbs. 5 days in, and he gets the win, a come from behind victory. What can't this guy do? He's probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league and possibly could be playing his way to a starting job at this point next year. 15 are the Saints, move up 1 because of the Jets falling. And it was an ugly win against the Bears, but a win's a win. And they're another one of those teams that have a very easy sub 500 schedule in the second half of the season. 14 are the Steelers, and they were in this one most of the game, but Matt Canada really made some good play calling towards the end of the game to get them the win. The touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson, breaking his streak of not a touchdown in the last 20 games. And they ran the ball well. Kenny Pickett looked good, no mistakes. They just need to get Pickens more involved. 13 are the Chargers, beat the Jets last night on Monday Night Football. And if the offense play, decent football and the defense plays like that and special teams as well, like they did against the Jets, this Chargers team is going to be a very scary team come playoff time. 12 are the Bills. And the Bills, I don't know. I think this team is going to miss the playoffs. You saw my preseason prediction. I can't remember if it was 9. I think it was 9-8, had them missing the playoffs. And they're 5-4 right now. They're almost right there. And they get the Broncos this week on Monday Night Football, and it feels like a must-win game if they want to stay in contention in the AFC East with the Dolphins. The Seahawks fall out of the top 10 as well after their just disappointment at 1 o'clock against the Ravens. They scored 3 points, gave up 37 to the Ravens. So much for this defense being decent. But the only positive out of this is Jackson Smith and Jigba and the rookies getting some more touches, and hopefully it'll be better for them in the long run. But they have a tough stretch after the Commanders this week. Rams, Niners twice, Dallas and Philly. And we're not only if they're going to win the West, but to see if this team is a legit playoff team. Those Niners come in at 10, and it feels like a must win, on the 3-game losing streak. But here they are. What did they do with the deadline? Added Chase Young. And him and Bosa could be a scary combo for this second half of the season. But it's just going to take some reps and a few games for him to get used to this system. The Browns move into the top 10, coming in at 9 after blanking the Cardinals at home. And this was more on Deshaun Watson coming out of his shell and, getting back from his injury. And he played well. 2 touchdown passes, no mistakes. Amari Cooper looked great as well. And the rushing still there. They're still ground and pound team, and they're going to go against Baltimore, which should be a huge heavyweight matchup in the AFC North. The Dolphins fall out of the top 5 and go to 8 here, one of their lower rankings they've had since the preseason. And the 21-point halftime deficit and not scoring the first half just did them in. They were close in the second half, but just couldn't pull off the comeback. And they head into the bye, I think, happy with where they are, but they got to figure out how to beat 500-plus teams. They're 0-3, and those are all 3 of their losses. This is a good team. They will probably make the playoffs somehow, but they just got to figure out how to beat the good teams. At 7 are the Cowboys, and I didn't really want to move them down here, but it just kind of felt like they had to because these are games that they need to win, and they were very competitive. And I think this Cowboys team is probably tied for second right now in the NFC for the second best team, but they got a tough stretch to pretty much close the year. Seattle, Philly, Buffalo, Miami, and the Lions. You got to win at least 3 of those, go 3-2, figure that out, and get into the playoffs. Not limping into the playoffs, but getting there, going through that gauntlet of a schedule. The Lions come in at 6, coming out of the bye, and here they are, getting David Montgomery back, hopefully this week. The Lions, they had that hot start going into the year, and they face the Chargers in LA, in what should be a very good game. And it's going to come down to the play of Jared Goff. If he can still play mistake-free football and the defense plays how they normally are, it's going to be tough for me to imagine this Lions team not winning 10 games this year. Starting the top five, I have the Bengals, and they move in after beating the Bills in primetime at home. This team's on a 4-game winning streak, and the grueling schedule kind of takes a pause here. I mean, the Texans are pretty solid now, but it's not the teams they've been playing, the Bills and the Chiefs, obviously. So now they get a little break, but it's going to be a tough matchup. It couldn't be any better getting Stroud and Burrow to face each other. Those two quarterbacks come in red hot, and so it could be a high scoring game. The Chiefs come in at 4 after beating the Dolphins, and they're 5-0 with Taylor Swift in attendance. It has to say something. A stat's a stat. But this was more on the defense playing well in this one. That return fumble for a touchdown, the pitch behind led to that touchdown, and it was the difference in this one. Mahomes played okay football in the first half, but disappeared in the second half. As they enter the bye week, I think very happy at a 7-2 record. The Jaguars come out of a bye week at a 6-2 record, and they're on a 5-game winning streak going against the Niners. And it's a big game for both of those heavyweights. And to see if these Jaguars win that game against the Niners, then it's going to be this Jaguars team's legit. But if they lose by a very close result, then I think, you still got to give props to these Jaguars. At 2 are the Ravens, yet again for the second straight week. It's pretty much a butt whooping on national TV. Ravens just did whatever they wanted here. Lamar didn't even have to do too much. It was more Keaton Mitchell, the ground game, totaling over 200 rushing yards. And when he did throw, Mark Andrews was his guy, having a great stat line. But they have Cleveland, Cincinnati, and the Chargers before their bye in week 14 or 13, week 13. It doesn't feel like those are some must-win games, but it's really going to be prove-it games, especially because all 3 of those teams are good AFC teams. And at 1 are the Eagles yet again for the second straight week. And it's theirs to lose in the number 1 ranking and the NFC, because this team beat the Cowboys, who is, like I said, tied for second in the NFC for the second best team. And I think it's going to run through Philly at Lincoln Financial Field. Everyone's going to have to go and win a game there if you want to probably make the Super Bowl this year. But that's going to be it for my power rankings this week. Make sure you guys check back next week to see where your favorite teams rank. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.